Emmerson Mnangagwa reintroduces the barbaric Chihuri policing of the Mugabe last days. Family, you still remember that when Mnangagwa came in, that was when we started to see the disappearance of the many roadblocks, the roadblocks that really tormented the Zimbabwean people. We still remember those days. It was a menace to travel in Zimbabwe's roads, especially if you are driving your own personal vehicle, because the things that these police officers would make you go through, you would really ask yourself what sin you have committed. They were milking money from Zimbabweans like nobody's business, and millions and millions, hundreds and hundreds of millions were made, and these monies were being shared between Chihuri, Grace Mugabe, and the other ministers that were corrupt within the Mugabe administration. And when Emmerson Mnangagwa came into power 2017, he maintained these roadblocks with now soldiers also manning the roadblocks together with the police for some time until he withdrew them, and then things looked like they were coming back to calm. And then today we are now seeing that we are now back again at the days of Chihuri, with the police roadblocks again having resurfaced in the country, the police again becoming a menace in the same manner that they were in the time of Robert Mugabe. And we are asking ourselves, is this not just the indication of the signs of times, that Mnangagwa is now just repeating the very last things that Mugabe did in his last days? We are seeing quite a lot of the very same things, with the war veterans coming to attack him, people in ZANU-PF starting to attack him now beginning to fire people unnecessarily like what Mugabe did, just to, reshuffling ministers just like that, like what also Mugabe did in the last days. And of course, Mugabe beginning to introduce some very rogue kind of, regulations and rules, like what we are also seeing happening with Mnangagwa, where he's going after people's groceries and taking people's things and things like that. And when we look at all this, it seems like now Mnangagwa is now replaying the very last days of Robert Mugabe. And I think it's just an indication of where we are going right now. So Osai Mviringi says here, Chihuri is back under President Mnangagwa. We all know the modus operandi under Chihuri. Police Zimbabwe was used as a conduit to raise money for the interface rallies. Now Commissioner Stephen Mutamba is doing exactly the same, raising money for the 2030 project. That's exactly what is happening. We've known the police now are harassing Zimbabwean people like nobody's business, and we are seeing a lot of suffering.
Vanofamba netsoka mkuru kubva kumhiri kwebridge ka kucrossa vari kubva kumhiri kuno kupolisi uku vachicrossa makombi akangounganidzwa mapurisa aripo. Unobva watoshayiwa kuti nyika yacho chii. Wonzwa munhu achingoti pamberi nezanu pamberi nezanu pamberi nezanu pamberi nezanu yekupenga yega yega. Ya hanzi makombi ari kusungwa, vari kugarira makombi, kana wagarira wakapuhwa mari inenge yabhadhara yosiwa. But ndo nyika yacho here akomana. Mukuru zvinhu zvinoda kuti zvitikurumidzei kuti igadziriswe. Yaisi tarwadziwa isi tabvuma manje.
Just imagine, this is the pain that Zimbabwean people are experiencing on a daily basis, just because there are some people that are having their own sinister motives. And unfortunately, the problem that we continue to see in Zimbabwe is that when ZANU-PF or Mnangagwa and his people have some sinister motives, they exert that pain on the Zimbabwean people. If they want to look for money, they look it from the pockets of the Zimbabweans. Look at how Mthuli Ncube is always coming with an empty budget, and yet he is actually trusting that he will get money from the people by introducing some crude kind of taxes. You'd ask yourself, what kind of taxation is this? And as if it's not enough, the next time that he comes, he's bringing in new taxations again, even more, making life even much more difficult. Whatever that they want to do, they make sure that they put the pain on the Zimbabwean people. And whatever sin that we as the Zimbabwean people have committed against Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF, it still remains unknown. Zimbabwe is a painful country to stay. People are walking distances, long distances, with combis having to be lined up just to pay a bribe. Those that are refusing to pay the bribe will not be entering into town, and most of them would rather prefer to not to pay the bribes and to stay on the other side. And yet now the end result is the pedestrians, or rather the passengers, are the ones that suffer, because they will have to be embarking from that side and walk into town. This is really sad. And whatever that is happening, we are seeing Zimra doing the very same thing. People's groceries are being taken away. Buses are being stopped everywhere. You can have 7 roadblocks of the same people, Zimra. How do you have the same Zimra as from Bridge until you get to Chegutu, until you get to Norton? How do you have the same people stopping the same buses again over and over? Why can't we have the first group of Zimra inspect the bus? Then they give them a receipt that this bus has been inspected. We've already checked everything. Everything is fine. Why should every group have to stop people or to stop the same people again and start issues? Just imagine. It's all a gimmick. It's all milking money. It's all just taking money from the suffering people of Zimbabwe. And Mnangagwa knows that this is happening every day. In fact, it's him who is sending them to do it. This is what we are experiencing as a people. And when we continue to say, like what this woman was saying in the video, that you hear somebody talking about 2030, somebody really who is in their normal senses would want to fight to have such kind of a leader like Mnangagwa to come to be at the helm of the country for yet another 7 years from today. Like really, surely why should people of Zimbabwe continue to suffer at the hands of a dictator? A man who is so heartless, ruthless, who does not have a heart in his chest. Zimbabwean people must continue to rise. This is a time when ZANU-PF is fighting each other like this and inviting us to fight. I think this is time that we need to just forget about everything and join in and fight. Let's just join in and fight, and we see what comes next after that. Maybe things will turn around and come back in another manner that is totally different. So this is the only window we have. If they start fighting each other like this, we definitely need to join in to make sure that at least Mnangagwa must go. Then we see what comes next, because the elephant in the room right now is Emmerson Mnangagwa. I don't think, like I was saying the other day, there's any other person who can ever come and become leader in Zimbabwe who will cause Zimbabwe to suffer like Emmerson Mnangagwa. I don't think so. I don't believe there's anyone who has this heart. Remember, this has been the most ruthless man in ZANU-PF. The man who has killed the most in ZANU-PF is Mnangagwa. So there can never be anyone who can be worse than him who is yet to come. He is the bishop of violence, the bishop of killing, the bishop of all evil. But our God this time is with us. This is why we are praying and saying, God is with us, God is in it. Let's continue to fight the war and stand up against ZANU-PF. Freedom is coming and God is in it.